Kat James can talk about total transformation, the extreme makeover for your life. Kat James is an award-winning nutrition author, leptin pioneer, and syndicated radio host who's been called a master of self-transformation by Self Magazine, as well as the Jane Goodall of leptin. Yes, after she became autoimmune, liver, and eating disorders that nearly took away her life. Then taught countless others her original protocol with doctor-verified success. James's controversial and pioneering dietary method, now recommended at top neurologic, fertility, functional medicine, stem cell metabolic, and even dental clinics around the world. She's appeared on Today, Fox, Hallmark Channel, TBS, Good Day New York, and PBS, and the awesome, incredible New Life Expo. Also, to learn more or to sign up for James's upcoming online or on-site programs, you can email her and we'll put that in the chat. And Kat James, hey kiddo.
Thank you. Hi, Mark. I'm glad to be here again, and thank you so much. I'm going to try to go to my PowerPoint right now, and it worked well last time. So I guess I go to share screen. Would that be right? I'm going to open I have it open. Yes, I do. And then I'm going to go right to share screen, and let's see how this works. Do you see the first image?
No, I see you.
Out there. Okay, maybe it takes a second. I'm pretty sure.
You look great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So in a moment, I'm going to show you an image of my progression, my health progression from the time I was 19 up till now. And I was in a lot of trouble. So let me just see if I'm not doing the right thing here. Is there anyone there who knows how to tell me to make this happen? We did it last time. Share. Yeah. Can you say that again?
I was going to ask Vicky. Vicky, can you give her advice? I know that
yes.
The PowerPoint is on your screen.
What happened?
She's trying to put her PowerPoint on. She's having a little problem.
Oh, I think I have a little thing that says share. Okay.
Yeah, click on that.
You have to say it again. So you have to share twice. Anybody who does this in the future. It says share screen, and I believe it will come up right now.
And you see, she is like a fine wine.
Yes,
she gets older,
looking to keep it that way. Yes, one of these decades, we'll probably see the worse for the wear. But all right, yes. So you guys see it, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Very good. Vicky Zoom engineers request remote
Please
control.
accept the request. Okay. I can bigger it. Yeah.
Very good. Perfect.
Bigger the display.
There you go. Open system preferences or deny. I just guess I'm going to open system preferences.
Okay. Can you bigger the view?
Okay.
Of your presentation. So, yeah.
Can I do what?
Full screen view of this presentation.
Oh, gotcha. Absolutely. Here we go. Thanks everybody there we go. Good.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your help. So that was me, 19 years old over there on the left. And I did not have a teenage. I was inside all summer and incredible shame all the time. And the truth is, later you would call, science would call this maybe lipedema or something. But if you've ever seen those women who are extremely pear-shaped and just even, walking was not the same experience that most people have walking. And my mother had the same thing, and my sister had the same thing. I somewhere have some pictures of my whole body buried somewhere, but that's not some kind of picture that most people take or leave when they feel this way about themselves. But major estrogen dominance and but eating disorders. So I bought into the whole calorie thing. I bought into the math, the thermodynamics view of weight, and that is energy in, energy out. And guess what? It's false. And it's very good news for those of you who struggle. And this is to reach people way beyond you don't have to have a weight issue to have any interest in this, as all of the athletes, the Olympic athletes, a Mets player, the Oscar winning actress, these people that I've worked with who have no weight problems, changed their lives, changed them from having cognitive issues, emotional issues, energy issues, sleep issues, autoimmune issues, and anxiety and everything, you name it, skin issues. So, but I'm telling my story, and that's what got me there, because it got me into a place where I was almost dying of liver failure after about 12 years. I had a massive heroin strength, and I mean that from a brain chemistry standpoint, addiction to food. And so many people have burnout dopamine pathways right now. Even if you can't go to bed without checking your Instagram, you probably have a dopamine issue. And so this is a biochemical need for a reward system outside of your own body, because you have this backstage pass to all these incredible neurotransmitters that do their job unless you disable them over time by abusing yourself, like I did, and more people are doing right now because of this farce of a existence that we have right now. And so this fixes the brain, but mine, I didn't know what, that anything was going to fix me, because I did everything I could. I spent my days white knuckling my way to make sure that I could just get through without massively hurting myself, but I could not. And I mean, like, I could not do it, not one day. Maybe in those 12 years, I had one or two starving stretches where I'd go down about 30 points, thinking about food every single moment. And so eventually my liver started to give out in New York City. I moved there, grew up on plastic food, changed my food to what most people would call very advanced health food. And I became vegetarian. And this did not fix my brain chemistry whatsoever. And so I came to that point where I had the heart palpitations, dizziness on standing. I went to the doctor. Liver enzymes were failing very badly, like very high elevated liver enzymes. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I really have to. It was the first time I wasn't focused on calories. I went into a bookstore because I wanted to look up what they wanted to give me, which was immunosuppressants, and they're deadly and horrible. And I realized I'm looking at, that's it for my life. I'm going to die. And so then I went into a health food store and I started looking up liver, because I wanted to fix my liver. And so I saw milk thistle and saw the typical liver things, started taking to this, bought me time. And my doctor was at New York Hospital, Dr. Harvey Lieberman. He was amazed. And I was amazed because I didn't believe in these things at that time. But 3 appointments back, he hit his desk and said, "What did you do?" And I started telling him, "Well, I took these herbs." And he goes, "Get out of here. I don't want to hear it." And so that was when I got turned on to natural stuff. And, the kind of stuff that you're going to learn, you're not going to hear about unless you come to something like what Mark is doing here. And so I started paying attention to this. I went back into the health food store and I bought a book that addressed sugar and the thyroid and all this stuff. And it bought me time, but it did not affect my my heroin-like addiction to food. That was a serious, serious issue. Not that nature can't handle that issue, but nature can handle it. But I just didn't see it in any of this information. And one day, I ate something very unusual, and I had a 4-hour, 5-hour stretch that was absolutely bewildering to me, where I felt like my head was floating over my body, like my 50-pound ball and chain that was my life, this constant sense of impending doom, and literally like kind of like this holding my in my chest, this feeling like the next bad thing's going to happen any moment. And but also no thoughts of food happened between after I ate breakfast until about 2 p.m. And 2 came and it was surreal. And I said, what in the world was that? Whatever that was, I will set out to make that happen if it's the last thing I do. And nothing in my life is as important as making that happen. And so over 2-year time of trial and error, and it was shocking because so many of my super fruits and foods and, blueberries and even quinoa was getting in the way of this. Now, I wasn't a normal metabolic being, and we are not normal metabolic. We're not the same people who were, sitting at the malt shop and then taking the string bean class photos looking like a string bean. We're not metabolically, epigenetically the same people. And so I was a product of having bought into low fat and high fructose corn syrup exposure, et cetera. And I used to think that I was a small percentage. It's everyone. And it's every vegetarian, every vegan, unless you are absolute, have not seen a change in your weight your entire life, and you don't even know how to put weight on. And believe me, there can be a leptin problem there too, because leptin is the weight regulator. Then you're going to have huge changes from this. I have had people who said, "Oh, we're just here for my wife." I've led over 111 group. I'm about to do my 111th group here in Montana. And I have athletes, world-class athletes that come with their wife and say, I'm just doing it for her. And then, all of a sudden they don't have adrenal issues and their sleep is improved and their muscle to fat ratio changes incredibly and their life has changed. So it is over the years that I came to be aware that this is for everyone. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that I could make happen in what I experienced. And by the way, at that 2-year point, when I finally got this way of feeling to last 24/7, all of a sudden, overnight, my rings started spinning, my abdomen was flat, and I looked in the refrigerator and what was in there didn't look like food to me all of a sudden. And I had just shopped for it a couple days before. Spontaneously was no longer vegetarian within 3 days, spontaneously. I mean, I was completely in my mind, completely like, no, meat is disgusting, blah, blah, blah. And so I was at a restaurant and I ordered something that was but my body said, you must do this now. I'm not saying that's for every single person. I certainly didn't know that I should have been like mainlining B vitamins and choline for my brain and cholesterol so that I could make my hormones correctly. And I didn't know that I should be taking 1 trillion supplements. So for me, that was a very strong message. But over a 3-year period, without ever a binge of ever again, 10 dress sizes came off of me. I never weighed myself, not since 1990. 10 dress sizes. So I was 18 on top, 20 on the bottom. And then I actually, frankly, went to like a 2. I mean, I'm almost 2 less because I was working so much. But it was an amazing thing. And I am not recognizable to high school people at a reunion and who are angry at me claiming who I am. And so everything happened. No more dizziness on standing, no more canker sores, no more horrible, horrible rashes. You would peel this area, crepey eyelids. I would peel off the eyelid. I could not use regular makeup and very uncomfortable skin from head to toe. I had extra dry skin cream and I couldn't use that. I mean, I didn't need to use that anymore. And that was very surreal when I realized I was not getting rashes anymore. I remember that was the moment when I truly believed. And my liver enzymes being all healed and no more heart palpitations, no more. I was just starting to do things like rollerblading and just being like a regular person that I could never be. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next. Leptin is, you don't need to write this stuff down, but it's just the master hormone. It's the compass of the body that you're not hearing about. And we need to hear about it again and again because it's only because they couldn't create a drug. Dr. Jeffrey Friedman discovered it in 1994, and they thought they had a blockbuster drug. But what happens when you give people a bunch of insulin? They become insulin resistant. If you give people a bunch of leptin, they become leptin resistant. The only way to regain the ability for leptin to function in the brain, it's made by our own body, by our own white fat cells, and it circulates. And the only way to get the hypothalamus to turn on again is simply to not spike it. And you spike it before you even spike insulin. That's the problem. Nobody has leptin sensitivity, even if you're not diabetic. You don't have leptin sensitivity. And so if the signaling is lost, you're going to store fat, and you'll have to work a little harder to burn fat. And you're not going to have the right exact hormone balance, but you're most important, not going to have the immune regulation, the regulation of thyroid hormone synthesis. If you look up leptin and thyroid, leptin and cancer, leptin and autoimmune, it is the regulator. And it regulates the activation of stem cells, of natural killer cells, of T cells. These are the things that you need right now. And it also stops overreaction in immunity, which is why you won't have sensitivity, not even to dairy. You won't have sensitivity once you become leptin sensitive. You can't actually drink milk and become leptin sensitive simply because there's too much sugar in milk, and most milk is crud. But the reason you won't get sensitive, lose your sensitivity to that stuff is because of blood sugar and thus insulin and leptin spikes. If you spike your blood sugar, everybody has a different threshold at which that happens. And your heredity and the frequency, severity of your past blood sugar spikes will determine, but everybody, as life goes forward and you get older, your threshold for spiking your insulin and leptin and thus blood sugar gets lower and lower. So that smoothie that you could have when you were 22, you will not be able to have the same hormonal response to it 10 years later, 20 years later. You will have a very different response to it. And so it is the hormone orchestrator. It literally will balance your hormones. It is the chief neuroprotectant. So it will keep your dopamine pathway in balance and keep you from having a burnout dopamine pathway. So being leptin sensitive will protect you from the damage that your social media addiction, if you have it, or alcohol or any other addiction, it will keep you from having that. And also your autonomic nervous system is going to be balanced. That is, in other words, you're going to be in rest digest mode instead of anxious and fight or flight mode. And so the health issues, Hashimoto's, obviously, all of the autoimmune things you can think of. And I'm certainly not going to make a claim for my program, which is recognized by the foremost clinical expert on leptin in the world, who was also arguably the #1 insulin guy in the world for decades. And he says, I'm the only person who's consistently harnessing this in people. And you can go online, look up leptin. Oh, leptin containing foods. No, they don't exist. And you can look up leptin raising food. You don't want to raise leptin. And so you're going to be led to a lot of harmful information. Oh, is it keto? No, keto is going to give you excess protein. Keto doesn't give you the satiety signal that leptin is. And keto causes a cell replication as opposed to cell remodeling via autophagy, the mTOR pathway. And so you're going to have an amazing effect with neurological issues when you regain the function of leptin. And that can be ADD, it can be depression, and it is amazing every single time. And I work with neurologists, and they see unbelievable things with ALS and with serious dementia and seizures and migraines, et cetera. And as far as the respiratory issues, if you can look up leptin and COPD, and it will say you raise leptin and you get more of those, and you get more fibrotic, cystic fibrosis and other types of pulmonary fibrosis. You get more of those with elevated leptin. So you'll say, well, leptin's bad. No, leptin isn't bad any more than insulin is bad. We need insulin. It's an unbelievable thing when our receptors actually can use insulin. So just like insulin sensitivity, you're going to get leptin sensitivity is what you're going for. And actually, the body-wide things that will happen with it are even greater than with insulin. And that's really saying something. And cardiovascular, amazing. Every heart issue, unbelievable. And I use a cryptic language here. Just coincidence what I've seen, but I have not ever seen anything that wasn't miraculous when it comes to these things. And blood pressure is child's play. Diabetes is just stupidly resolvable. I don't care if you've had it for 17 years, it's silly. And so hormonal imbalance is testosterone. It frees up testosterone. And this is something that is incredible for both men and women. Because you are suddenly going to have your joy of life, your libido, muscle to fat ratio that people can't even achieve in the gym. And I've had trainers that didn't believe that their fitness model that they worked with wasn't on steroids, and they had done my program and had a change in muscle to fat ratio that was not even known to be possible in the whole world of exercise physiology, not even known to be possible. And the rate of regaining of muscle independent of exercise is astounding. And so your pain of all sources, your body-wide inflammation goes down, the level of the pain from anything generally goes down, and weird skin things from skin tags disappearing all the time in people that I work with, rosacea, psoriasis, eczema, seborrhea, keratosis pilaris, those little hard bumps on the back of your arms, hives, inexplicable hives. It's generally done with leptin, blaming it on leptin. I'm not making claims here for my program. And how do you get it? Well, you don't take an injection. Only a very small part of the population doesn't have enough already. Generally, you have too much. And so you need to lower it long enough for your receptors to resensitize to it. And so pills and injections don't work. Everybody has a different threshold at which they regain it. But good news, very fast. It's very fast. And if you do this very perfectly, it took me 2 years to actually trial and error my way to this way of feeling, which only 14 years later, by luck of being at the book signing that the foremost clinical expert on leptin was at, he told me what I had harnessed, and it was mind-blowing. By the way, it reverses bone loss as well, because you're not using the sugar from the protein in your bones to keep your blood sugar up overnight anymore, which all sugar burners, which you're only supposed to be in a famine, So this is an incredible change there. And so it's very individualized, and you can do in as little as a week. And if you're with me, even a couple less days, what took me 2 years to do. And but here's the thing. Oh, it must take discipline because I'm not going to be eating, you know, all sorts of things that spike my blood sugar. There's not. It changes your microbiome. In fact, you can look up leptin and microbiome composition. It dominates microbiome composition. And all of a sudden, you are going to have a different microbiome, but you're going to heal your dopamine pathways. And even with that aside, leptin is the satiety signal, and it will blow your mind. I was a person that I was a bottomless pit. I had no satiety signal. And even my body could even ignore physical stretching. And I would literally sedate myself with unbelievable amounts of food that could put even a, you know, college football player to shame. And I was, you know, I don't know if it was a death wish, but it was really just a drug addiction. And so that gets healed. But not only that, leptin within a few days suddenly kicks in, and you're looking at half of a plate of mouth-watering food. Incredibly mouth-watering food, and you can't eat one more bite. And that is a brand new thing, not even just for people with eating disorders. That's like a new thing for people that don't even have food problems. They don't even understand the first couple of days you're not going to be having what feeds your pathogenic bacteria and yeast. So you're going to have the hugest yeast possible. It makes Candida programs look like a joke. And so you're going to have a huge change there. And that is when people learn, oh, I was kind of addicted to feeding my pathogenic bacteria and yeast, and that completely changes. And so I want to show you again, I just want to show you my history that I gave up because this is so phenomenal, was being one of the top quoted beauty experts of the 90s. I'm quoted in all the magazines, worked with Martha Stewart personally, was her favorite hair and makeup person for 5 years, and on all of these shows. None of this. That's pretty exciting, but who cares? You know, who cares? You know, and I could just go in the airport, open up a magazine, and see my, you know, this is what matters. And everyone is like, oh my God, this must take incredible self-discipline. And it wasn't taking self-discipline. I was free. This used to be my health food. Now that's coma food for me. This is a former heart attack victim, and about 2.5 months of doing my program between when this before picture was taken was in fall of 2009. And then in 2010, her doctor gave her a clean bill of health with this rare, heart thing that they were giving her a drug for with no results. And then all of a sudden he says, you know, you don't have heart disease anymore. And furthermore, you have a reversal of osteopenia. She didn't have Meniere's disease anymore. And literally it filled a page how many other things she didn't have. This is her before and after. And this is literally about under 3 months. And this is 87 pounds down. And this is her son with head to toe rashes. You can still see there was a little rash by his mouth there. And then her son, Caleb, and they came to my London to Scotland program, and her husband did it too. No more ADHD. He's totally free. No more slave to coffee and sugar and putting his head down, during his job at Costco in the afternoon. And then she's 87 pounds down. No more diabetes. No more social anxiety. No more. She had tons of things wrong with her. And her adorable son, Caleb, who we love each other, and he is just completely free of these head to toe rashes and also behavioral issues and inability to concentrate and hitting his parents, and all of that is done. Here, similar to my issues, Brittany had eating disorder, which was started, by the way, by fasting. So that was a very big contributor to my eating disorder, was just trying to limit my calories by fasting. And it was disastrous. You have a rebound effect, even in rodents. And you also turn food, potentially in some people who are vulnerable, into a dopamine spiking activity. If you don't eat and then you skip a meal or two and then you do eat, they found in a study that they didn't realize that food could have such a drug-like effect. And the drug-like effect came on in some people after skipping meals. So be very careful. If you fat fast, as a fat burner, you have to get to the point where you're a fat burner. And that is not something I can say, oh, this is what I eat for breakfast. It's not the same. Everybody has a different ratio, and it's based on their history and their heredity. And also, it's just a very complex thing. The order in which you eat and the timing, you don't want to allow your brain to perceive that you're in a famine. And so it's very, it's trial and error, and my honing of it over 22 years of living along with people for at least 5 days at a time, 6 to 8 times a year, and also doing 60 online programs, probably closer to 65, 70 now. And this is a very specialized thing. And it's important that people listen and take all the steps leading into it to make the transition comfortable, because the transition could be uncomfortable if you don't do the right things. I don't even put anything about achieving leptin sensitivity into my best-selling book, The Truth About Beauty. I don't put anything in there about it because it would be irresponsible for me to do that, because you can't have you can't be unfocused or do it piecemeal. You got to be engaged, and I engage with the people who work with me. This is 105 pounds down in Debbie, and she's a anesthesiologist, and said that in 20 years of medicine, no one ever mentioned anything about how I told her that, to change her life. And I recognized a certain thyroid thing going on with her. She no longer has adenocarcinoma. She was on 12 different drugs. They couldn't understand why. She had a rapid heart rate. This set her autonomic nervous system right side up, completely changed her life. She lost Debbie lost about 105 pounds. She just came, Abby, amazing Abby from Missouri. She's an employee of US Wellness Meats, an amazing grass-fed meat company that is helping the environment. And so she came last November 1st, and this was taken January, the after was taken January 13th. Incredible change. And so many health issues, anxiety, her thyroid have normalized. And this is Lisa. And that's an incredible change. She came with Abby because they're co-workers. And so they won my Transform from Home contest. And they both came together in November, around November 1st, to Northwest Montana. And then this was they came again. Their employer was so proud. He sent them for a before and after photo, or an after photo, which I took and did some makeup on them. And this is incredible. She said she had rocks in her stomach. So she had major IBS, and diarrhea and all. She shared this on my radio show. Both of them have. And she had pain in her knees and blood pressure, high blood pressure. All of this is resolved, and she is not going to do anything else ever. Life is so much easier. Her husband has to get used to how active she is, because she used to be just be a couch potato in the evenings. Now she's doing things. He's like, when are you going to settle down? And she goes, I just have all this energy. And so these are stories of no more ADHD, and no more heart issues, no more allergy inhaler. The man on the left, a very famous jazz drummer, and the guy in the middle represented Medifast and made them #1 on the search engine. So he asked me to cover his eyes. He said they would not be happy. And then the fellow on the right had lost 10 pounds every decade due to a very strong post cocaine use issue where he could not eat after 2 o'clock and hold the food down, and not for decades. And this immediately fixed it so he could eat normally. And in fact, I should get a more recent picture. It changed his mouth. It changed his life with his family. No more alcohol, as pain treatment for him. 17-year diabetic, canceled his leg vein surgery. His veins were all like this on his ankle. And he no longer, has the vein problem. And so they canceled his other surgery for that. No more diabetes. That was after about 30 days, after 17 years of being a diabetic. And this is a season 3 trainer from The Biggest Loser who had Cushing's disease and early onset menopause, and was no longer eating. She had a massive eating disorder because Cushing's puts weight on you to shield your organs from cortisol, excess cortisol. And so she was just brushing her teeth instead of eating. And season 3 trainer, Biggest Loser, brushing her teeth instead of eating, and working out up to 3 times a day, because she was just inexplicably gaining all this weight and she could not do anything about it. And I thought she was going to kind of get me in trouble because she heard me on the radio bashing The Biggest Loser and The Biggest Loser study, which was just a setup for using surgery and drugs for weight loss and getting people to stop thinking they could do anything about it themselves. So she heard me bashing The Biggest Loser, and she said, "You got to help me." And I said, "Well, you're going to sign a bunch of things because I'm a little concerned, that you're going to, first of all, get me in trouble, but also I'm concerned that you're going to because this is going to be unbelievable. It's going to change your life and you're going to make your career out of it. So you're going to sign some things." And so she did. And first thing that happens, even within a week of just doing what I call my pre-program, which everyone does before they attend in person, she got her period back immediately. And then by the time she gets there, she's already lost puffiness, but she shows me her embedded ring and it hadn't come off of her finger. And there was just what people would call flab around it. She said, "If this comes off in 6 months, I'll be so happy." And I said, "That's coming off in 5 days. That's coming off before you leave." And we were at Buffalo Ranch and you see the buffalo behind her in Missouri, and that was sponsored by U.S. Wellness Meats. And so it was an incredible thing because on about the 4th day, she was sitting with the group and her ring just fell off. It flew off in front of and she was just twiddling around with it and it came off. And she said, "I can't even believe it." And she lost about 18 pounds in under 2 months, but gained 6 pounds of pure muscle. That's not supposed to even be possible. So everything that picture with her in the pink skirt, I don't even tell people the truth of how fast that happened. She literally came home from the program, which you see her with me at the program. She went home and that was like literally like 2 Sundays later. But I just tell people in under 2 months because they don't believe it. That's all the body-wide edema related to inflammation. And you pee it out. I've had men just like get up like 5 times to pee. And then the next morning they've got some concaveness to their big old belly, or they're not seeing the stripes from their socks. So you let go of inflammation and the edema connected to that. That happens very quickly. Some of you.
I have to bring Mitchell Rabin on.
Okay.
And so what I'll do is Kat, tell me how to get in touch with you, and then I'll put you in your own room.
Okay. Very good. Sounds good.
Okay.
Now I don't know how to go there. So last time
Vicky will send you there.
I can move you.
Okay. Very good. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody. And please, I just want you to know I can be reached at info@informedbeauty.com and the number 877-54 total. And I have a May 1st program in Montana, an area of sanity in the world. And I also have my online, April 8th, my online class starts. Thank you, Mark.
Sounds great. Thank you, Deb. So Kat is in room 12. You can actually go visit Kat in room 12 or stick around for Mitchell Rabin.